Deho woke up with pain shooting through his entire body. His head felt heavy and his vision was blurry. He tried to move his hands, but they would not budge. Something cold and hard held his wrists in place. When his eyes finally focused, he saw chains made of a strange crystal material wrapped around his arms and legs. He was not on his ship anymore. The walls around him glowed with a soft blue light. Everything looked alien and wrong. The last thing he remembered was the explosion. 3 enemy warships had surrounded his fighter craft, and he had decided to take them all down with him. He fired every weapon he had, dodged their attacks, and somehow destroyed all 3 vessels before his ship gave out. But he should be dead. That explosion should have killed him. The door to his cell opened without a sound. Deho looked up, ready to fight even with chains on his body. What walked through that door made him freeze. It was a woman, but not quite human. She stood tall, taller than any person he had ever seen. Her skin had a strange shimmer to it, like scales catching the light. Her eyes were golden and shaped differently than human eyes. She wore armor that looked both elegant and deadly. Behind her, 2 guards stood at attention. They looked similar to her, but were clearly soldiers. The woman walked closer to Deho, and he could see her more clearly now. She was beautiful in a terrifying way. Her presence filled the room with power. "Commander Deho of Earth," she said. Her voice was smooth but carried weight. "You have killed many of my people. You destroyed 3 of our finest warships by yourself. My generals want you executed for these crimes." Deho glared at her. "Then do it. I am not afraid to die." The woman studied him for a long moment. Something like sadness crossed her face. "I am Princess Nara of the Veltharian Empire. I did not come here to kill you. I came to ask you something. Ask a prisoner?" Deho laughed bitterly. "What could you possibly want from me?" Princess Nara took a deep breath. Then, to Deho's complete shock, she lowered herself to one knee in front of him. Her guards gasped behind her. Whatever she was doing, it was clearly not normal for someone of her position. "I am asking you to marry me," she said quietly. Deho stared at her. The words made no sense. "What?" "My people are dying," Nara continued. Her voice was steady, but Deho could hear the strain in it. "Our males can no longer produce children. We have tried everything. Our scientists have worked for decades to solve this problem. Nothing works. In 1 generation, maybe 2, the Veltharian will cease to exist." She looked up at him and her golden eyes were filled with desperation. "We discovered that humans are genetically compatible with us. Your species can give us what we need to survive. We need your strength, your genetics. I am asking you, begging you, to become my mate and help save my people." Deho felt anger rising in his chest. "You capture me, chain me up, and then ask me to marry you? To help the same people who have been killing humans across the galaxy?" "I know how this looks," Nara said. "I know what we have done. But I am desperate. My people are desperate." "No," Deho said firmly. "I will never help the empire that has caused so much suffering. I would rather die." Nara stood up slowly. Her face became harder, more like a mask. "I expected that answer. But there is something you need to know." She gestured to one of her guards who brought forward a small device. The guard pressed something, and images appeared in the air between them. Deho's breath caught in his throat. The images showed Earth, but it was not the Earth he remembered. Cities were burning. Massive ships filled the skies. People were running, screaming, dying. The footage showed humans being rounded up and taken to ships. Children crying. Families torn apart. "The Krovar Dominion attacked Earth 3 months ago," Nara said quietly. "They overwhelmed your defenses. Most of your people are now slaves in their markets. The few military forces that escaped are scattered across the galaxy, hunted down one by one. You, Commander Deho, are the last high-ranking human officer we know of who is still alive." Deho could not breathe. His home, his people, everything he had fought to protect was gone. "No," he whispered. "This is a trick. You are lying." "I wish I was," Nara said. There was genuine pain in her voice now. "The Krovar are our enemies too. They are cruel beyond measure. They enjoy making others suffer. Your people are being sold like animals in their markets." She knelt down again, looking directly into his eyes. "I am offering you a deal. Marry me, help my people survive. In return, I will use every ship in my fleet to attack the Krovar. I will free as many humans as I can. I will give them a home with us. Your people will not go extinct." Deho felt tears burning in his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. "Why should I trust you?" "Because we are both facing extinction," Nara answered. Because I am willing to put aside pride and tradition to save my people, and I believe you would do the same for yours. Because together, we might actually have a chance. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Deho looked at the images still floating in the air. Humans in cages, children reaching through bars. His people suffering. I need time to think, he said finally. Nara nodded. I will give you 1 day. But know this, Commander. If you refuse, I will have no choice but to find another human. The Krovar have thousands in their markets. I will buy one if I must. But I would rather have a warrior who chooses to fight beside me than a slave forced to serve. She stood and walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned back. I know you hate us. You have every right to. But hate will not save your people. Only action will. The door closed behind her, leaving Deho alone with his thoughts and the horrible images of Earth's fall. He pulled against his chains, feeling helpless and angry. He was a warrior, trained to fight, to protect. But how could he protect anyone while chained in a cell? His mind raced through possibilities. If what she said was true, if Earth had really fallen, then he had failed his mission completely. But maybe, just maybe, he could still save some of his people, even if it meant making a deal with the enemy. Deho closed his eyes and thought of his home, of the people he had known, of the soldiers who had served with him. They would want him to survive. They would want him to save as many as he could, no matter the cost. When he opened his eyes again, his jaw was set with determination. He did not know if he could trust Princess Nara. He did not know if this was all an elaborate trap. But he knew one thing for certain: he would do whatever it took to save his people. Even if it meant marrying an alien princess. The next morning, guards came to Deho's cell. They released him from the crystal chains but kept weapons pointed at him. He rubbed his wrists where the chains had been and followed them through the ship's corridors. Everything around him was alien and strange. The walls curved in ways that made no sense to human engineering. Lights came from nowhere and everywhere at once. They brought him to a large room with windows showing the stars outside. Princess Nara stood waiting for him. She wore different clothes now, simpler but still clearly made for royalty. Her golden eyes watched him carefully as he entered. Have you made your decision? She asked. Deho looked at her for a long moment. I have conditions. Nara raised an eyebrow but nodded. Speak. This will not be a marriage, Deho said firmly. This will be an alliance. You want me to help your people survive, fine. But I want more than just a rescue mission. I want ships. I want weapons. I want your help to rebuild what the Krovar destroyed. You want me to go to war, Nara said. I want you to help me free my people and give them a real chance at survival, Deho corrected. Not just pull them from cages and leave them with nothing. If I agree to this, then we become partners. Real partners, not master and servant. Nara was quiet for several seconds. Her guards looked uncomfortable with how Deho was speaking to their princess, but she raised a hand to keep them silent. Very well, she said finally. An alliance it is. I will provide ships, resources, and training. You will help my people and teach us your human ways of fighting. The Krovar have beaten us in every major battle for the past decade. Perhaps human tactics will give us an edge. She stepped closer to him. But understand this, Deho. My people will expect a union ceremony. They will expect me to produce an heir. Can you live with that? Deho felt his stomach twist, but he nodded. If it saves lives, yes. Then we have an agreement. Nara gestured to her guards. Release him fully. Give him quarters and access to our training facilities. The commander is no longer a prisoner. He is my ally. The guards bowed and left. Deho found himself alone with Nara again. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. I did not want this, she said quietly. I did not want to beg a human for help. I did not want to bind myself to someone from another world. But I will do what I must for my people. We have that in common, Deho replied. Over the next weeks, Deho was given access to much of the ship. He learned about Veltheran technology and their military structure. He also began training their warriors. The first day in the training room, he faced 12 Veltheran soldiers who looked at him like he was a joke. Show us what humans can do, one of them said with a laugh. Deho picked up one of their training weapons and took a fighting stance. Come at me. All of you at once, they did, and Deho took them all down in under 3 minutes. The Veltheran were strong and fast, but they fought with honor, and expected their enemies to do the same. Deho fought dirty. He used tricks, misdirection, and tactics that caught them completely off guard. When the last soldier fell, they all stared up at him in shock. Lesson 1, Deho said. Never assume your enemy will fight fair. The Krovar certainly do not. Word spread quickly through the ship. The human commander was not just talk. He could back up his confidence with skill. More warriors came to learn from him. Nara watched his training sessions from above, studying how he moved and taught. One day, during a particularly intense simulation, something went wrong. The training room systems malfunctioned. Energy weapons that should have been set to low power suddenly went to full strength. A blast came straight at Nara, who had been observing from a platform. Deho saw it happen. Without thinking, he ran and jumped, pushing Nara out of the way. The plasma blast hit him in the shoulder instead, burning through his uniform and into his skin. He fell hard to the ground, pain exploding through his body. Deho. Nara's voice sounded strange, almost panicked. Medical drones arrived within seconds. They began working on his wound, spraying something cold that numbed the pain. But Nara pushed them aside and knelt beside him herself. You fool, she said, but her voice shook. Why did you do that? Instinct, Deho managed to say through gritted teeth. Could not let you die. I am Veltherin. My scales would have protected me. You have no such protection. Deho tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. Too late now. They took him to the medical bay. The doctors worked on him for hours. The burn was severe, but their technology was advanced. They said he would recover fully with time. Nara stayed in the medical bay the entire time, watching over him. When he woke up later, she was sitting beside his bed. Her face looked tired. You should rest, he told her. I wanted to make sure you were all right, she said. Then softer, thank you for saving me. We are allies now, Deho said. That is what allies do. Nara looked at him strangely. My people do not think that way. We value strength above all else. Showing concern for others is seen as weakness. But you humans are different. You show emotion openly. You care about each other. You protect those weaker than you. My generals think this makes you soft. And what do you think? Deho asked. Nara was quiet for a moment. I think perhaps we have forgotten something important. My people are dying because we were too proud to ask for help, too strong to show we needed anyone else. Maybe your way is not weakness. Maybe it is a different kind of strength. Over the following days, as Deho healed, he and Nara spent more time together. She asked him about Earth, about human culture, about what it was like to live on a planet instead of on ships. He asked her about the Veltherin, about their dragon forms that he had only heard rumors about what it was like to be royalty. They were learning to understand each other. It was not friendship exactly, not yet, but it was something more than just an alliance. There was respect growing between them. One evening, Nara came to his quarters looking troubled. I need to tell you something. Deho set down the human book he had been reading from the ship's database. What is wrong? My cousin Jiwan has returned to the fleet. He is a prince and has much influence with the Royal Council. He does not approve of our alliance. He thinks I am weak for asking a human for help. What will he do? I do not know yet. But Jiwan is ambitious. He has always wanted the throne. If he can prove that I'm unfit to rule, the council might remove me and make him the next in line. Deho stood up. Then we need to prove that this alliance works. We need to succeed in freeing my people from the Krovar. It will not be easy, Nara warned. The Krovar have powerful defenses. Their slave markets are well protected. Then we train harder. We plan better. And we show your cousin and your council that humans and Veltherin together are stronger than either alone. Nara smiled. A real smile that made her look less like a stern princess and more like a person. You sound very confident for someone who was my prisoner just weeks ago. Things change, Deho said with a shrug. A few weeks ago I wanted to kill every Veltherin I saw. Now I am training them to fight better. Life is strange. Yes, Nara agreed quietly. It is. As she left his quarters that night, Deho realized something had changed in him too. He no longer saw Nara as just the enemy princess. He saw her as someone carrying an impossible weight, trying to save her people the only way she knew how. She had put aside her pride to ask for help. That took courage, but he also knew that their alliance was about to be tested. If this Jiwan was as ambitious and dangerous as Nara said, then trouble was coming. They would need to be ready. Deho looked out the window of his quarters at the stars passing by. Somewhere out there, Humans were suffering in Krovar slave markets. His people needed him, and now he had the tools and allies to actually do something about it. He would not fail them again. 3 months of planning led to this moment. Deho stood in the command center of Nara's flagship, looking at the holographic display of their target. The Krovar slave station was massive, an ugly structure of metal and darkness floating in space. Intelligence reports said it held over 5,000 humans, along with slaves from dozens of other species. "All teams report ready," one of Nara's officers announced. Deho checked his armor one more time. It was a hybrid design, combining Veltheran technology with human tactical needs. Nara had insisted he wear the best protection they had. She stood beside him now, wearing her own battle armor. Her golden eyes were focused on the display. "Remember the plan," she said to everyone in the room. "We strike fast. We hit their defenses hard. We get our people out. We do not stay to fight longer than necessary." "Understood, Princess," the officers responded. The fleet jumped into position. Dozens of Veltheran ships appeared around the slave station. Alarms immediately began blaring on the Krovar station. They had been caught by surprise, but they would not stay surprised for long. "Launch all fighters. Begin the assault," Nara commanded. The battle began with a massive barrage of weapons fire. Veltheran ships hammered the station's shields with everything they had. Deho watched the tactical display, noting weak points in the enemy defense just like he had taught Nara's officers to do. "There," he pointed. "That section of the shield is weaker. Focus fire there." The order went out. Concentrated fire hit the weak point and the shields flickered. That was their opening. "Strike team, you are go," Nara said into her communicator. Deho ran to the hangar with his team. 12 Veltheran warriors followed him, soldiers he had trained personally over the past months. They loaded into a fast assault ship and launched toward the station. The ride was rough. Enemy fire lit up space around them. Their pilot dodged and weaved through the chaos. They reached the station and used a breaching device to cut through the hull. Deho was first through the hole, weapon ready. Krovar's soldiers waited on the other side. They were big, covered in thick armor, with forearms that held multiple weapons. Deho had studied their species. He knew they were strong but not as fast as humans. He slid under the first one's fire and shot it in the leg joint. As it fell, his team poured through behind him. The fight was brutal. The Krovar did not retreat. They fought to the death. But Deho's team moved like a single unit, using tactics that confused the enemy. They pushed deeper into the station. "The holding cells are 2 levels down," Deho said, checking his scanner. They fought their way through corridors filled with enemy soldiers. Deho took a blast to his armor that knocked him back, but the Veltheran technology held. One of his team members helped him up and they kept moving. When they reached the holding cells, Deho's heart broke. Rows and rows of cages held humans. They looked thin and scared. Many had bruises and wounds. Children clung to adults. Everyone looked at the rescuers with hope and fear mixed together. "We are getting you out," Deho called out in human language. "Stay calm. We are here to save you." His team began breaking open the cages. The humans started pouring out. Some could barely walk. Others cried with relief. Deho helped an old woman who could not stand on her own. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." "Save your thanks until we are safe," Deho replied. But he felt emotion rising in his chest. These were his people. He was actually saving them. More teams were arriving now, helping to move the humans toward the evacuation ships. But then the ship shook violently. Something had hit them hard. "Princess, what was that?" Deho called into his communicator. Nara's voice came back, strained. "We have a problem. A Krovar fleet just arrived. They outnumber us 5 to 1. Someone must have warned them we were coming." Deho's blood ran cold. "How long until everyone is evacuated?" "At least 20 minutes. We will not last that long against this many ships." Deho looked at all the humans still waiting to be evacuated. 20 minutes. They needed more time. He made a decision. "I am taking a fighter. I will draw some of them away." "No," Nara's voice was sharp. "That is suicide. It is buying time." "There is a difference." Deho turned to his team leader, a Veltheran warrior named Hyun. "Get everyone out. That is an order." Before anyone could stop him, Deho ran toward the fighter bay. He found a small attack craft and jumped in. He had trained on Veltheran fighters during the past months. His hands moved over the controls, starting the engines. "Deho, wait." Nara's voice came over the communicator. "Do not do this, I have to," he replied. These are my people. I will not let them die. He launched out of the hangar and immediately flew straight at the largest Krovar warship. His weapons were nothing compared to their size, but he fired anyway. He dodged their return fire and came around for another pass. All Krovar ships, look at me, he shouted over open channels. I am Commander Deho, the one who destroyed your fleets at Earth. Come and get me if you dare. Several Krovar fighters broke off from the main battle and came after him. Good. That was exactly what he wanted. He led them away from the station, flying between debris and using every trick he knew. Back on the station, evacuation ships were loading faster now. Humans were being rushed aboard. Nara watched from her command center, her claws digging into the armrest of her chair. He is insane, one of her officers muttered. He is brave, Nara corrected. Then into her communicator. All ships focus on covering the evacuation. Let the human do what he does best. Deho's fighter was taking heavy damage. His shields were almost gone. One engine was failing, but he kept flying, kept dodging, kept drawing the enemy away. He had led 12 fighters away from the main battle now. They were all chasing him through a debris field. Then something appeared on his scanner that made him smile grimly. It was Nara's flagship moving fast in his direction. What are you doing? He asked over the communicator. Saving my ally, Nara replied. Did you think I would let you die alone? Her ship opened fire, destroying 3 Krovar fighters in seconds. But more were coming. Deho saw them on his scanner. Too many. Nara, get out of here. Your people need you. My people need both of us, she said firmly, and I am not leaving. Something in her voice made Deho understand. This was not just about alliance anymore. This was not just about duty. Nara actually cared what happened to him. His fighter was failing completely now. He aimed it at the nearest Krovar ship and prepared to ram it. But before he could, a massive form appeared in space beside him. It was huge, covered in shimmering scales with wings that defied physics. A dragon. Nara had transformed into her true form. She was magnificent. Her scales reflected the light of explosions around them. Her roar echoed across communication channels. She flew straight at the Krovar fighters, her claws tearing through their armor like paper. Her breath weapon, some kind of energy blast, destroyed ships with each strike. Deho had never seen anything so terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Evacuate to my ship, Nara's voice said in his head. Somehow she could communicate directly with him in her dragon form. Now, before your fighter explodes, he did not argue. He ejected from the dying fighter and used his suit's thrusters to reach her flagship. As soon as he was aboard, he ran to the command center. On the screens, he watched Nara fight. She was taking massive damage from the Krovar fleet, but she did not back down. Her dragon form absorbed hit after hit, protecting the evacuation ships with her own body. All evacuation ships are clear, an officer reported. Everyone is out. Nara, fall back. Deho shouted into the communicator. She destroyed one more Krovar ship, then turned and flew back to her flagship. As soon as she was in the hangar, her form shimmered and changed back to her humanoid shape. The fleet jumped away to safety. Deho reached the hangar just as Nara collapsed. Her armor was burned and broken. Blood dripped from multiple wounds. Medical teams rushed to her, but Deho got there first. You idiot, he said, but his voice was gentle. You beautiful, brave idiot. Nara looked up at him and smiled despite her pain. I learned from the best. They rushed her to medical. Deho waited outside, pacing. After what felt like hours, a doctor came out. She will recover, the doctor said. The princess is very strong. Deho felt relief flood through him. Then he heard cheering from elsewhere in the ship. The humans they had rescued were safe. Over 5,000 people saved. It was not enough to replace what had been lost, but it was a start. And Deho realized something as he sat waiting for Nara to wake up. He no longer saw this as just an alliance of convenience. Nara had risked everything to help him save his people. She had put herself between them and destruction. She had earned more than his respect. She had earned his trust, maybe even more than that, though he was not ready to name it yet. Nara woke 3 days after the battle. Deho was sitting beside her bed when her golden eyes opened. She looked at him for a long moment, then smiled weakly. You stayed, she said. Of course I did, Deho replied. Partners do not abandon each other. She tried to sit up, but pain crossed her face. Deho helped her, adjusting the bed so she could rest more comfortably. The humans we rescued? She asked. Safe, all of them. They are being given quarters on different ships in the fleet. Medical teams are taking care of the injured. You saved them, Nara. You saved my people. We saved them, she corrected. Together. Before they could talk more, the door opened. A tall Veltheran male entered, wearing expensive robes and carrying himself with arrogance. His scales were darker than Nara's, almost black. Behind him walked several guards. Cousin, the male said. I am glad to see you survived your foolish mission. Jiwan, Nara said coldly. What do you want? I want what is best for our people. Jiwan's eyes moved to Daiho. Is this the human you have bound yourself to? The one you begged to help us? Commander Daiho is my ally and my betrothed, Nara said firmly. Show respect, Jiwan laughed. Respect? For a human? You have brought shame to our family, Nara. You kneel before lesser beings. You risk our fleet to save creatures that mean nothing to the Veltheran Empire. Daiho stood up, his fists clenched, but Nara held up a hand to stop him. Leave us, Jiwan. I am in no mood for your poison. I am not going anywhere. The Royal Council has sent me with a message. They are not pleased with your actions. You nearly lost half our fleet to save human slaves. Many are questioning whether you are fit to lead. I did what was necessary, Nara said. We need allies. The Krovar grow stronger every day. Humans have proven themselves valuable. One human destroyed 3 of our ships. Now he trains our warriors and shares our princess's bed. How convenient for him. Jiwan's voice dripped with contempt. I have brought evidence to the council, evidence that someone leaked our attack plans to the Krovar. Someone who wanted this mission to fail. What are you talking about? Nara demanded. Jiwan pulled out a data pad and tossed it onto her bed. Communications logs. Someone on your flagship sent encrypted messages to Krovar space before our attack. That is how they knew we were coming. That is why we were ambushed. Daiho felt his blood run cold. A traitor on Nara's ship. Someone had betrayed them. Nara looked at the data pad, her face growing darker with each second. These logs show transmissions, but not who sent them. Exactly, Jiwan said with a smile. It could be anyone. Perhaps even your human commander. After all, he was a prisoner before. Maybe he still has Krovar contacts. Maybe this whole alliance is a trick. That is a lie, Daiho said angrily. I would never work with the Krovar. They enslaved my people, so you say. But humans are known liars, are they not? Your species tricks others to survive. You fight without honor. Daiho took a step toward Jiwan, but Nara spoke first. Enough, get out, Jiwan, now. I will leave. But the council wants to see you in 2 days. They will decide if you remain as princess or if someone else should take your place. Jiwan smiled coldly. I wonder who they might choose. He left with his guards. As soon as the door closed, Nara slammed her fist on the bed in frustration. He is trying to take the throne, she said. He has been waiting for me to fail so he can replace me. Do you think he is the traitor? Daiho asked. I'm almost certain of it, but I have no proof. And without proof, I cannot accuse a royal family member. The council would never believe me over him. Daiho thought for a moment. Then we need to find proof. Can your people trace where those transmissions came from? Jiwan would not be stupid enough to send them himself. He would use someone else or cover his tracks well. Nara looked tired and frustrated. Maybe he is right. Maybe I am not fit to lead. I endangered our fleet for humans. Many Veltheran died in that battle. Stop, Daiho said firmly. He sat down beside her and took her hand. She looked surprised at the gesture. You are a good leader. You saw an opportunity to make an alliance that benefits both our people. That takes vision. It takes courage. Jiwan only sees threats to his own power. The council may not agree. Then we show them they are wrong. We prove that this alliance works. And we expose Jiwan for the traitor he is. Nara looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. Why do you care so much? You could walk away. Take the humans we rescued and find somewhere else to go. You do not owe me anything. Daiho was quiet for a moment. He thought about everything that had happened. Nara kneeling before him in his cell. Her desperate plea. The way she had fought beside him. How she had risked her life to protect the evacuation ships. Maybe I did not owe you anything at first, he said slowly. But things have changed. You are not just an ally anymore, Nara. You are... He struggled to find the words. You are someone I trust. Someone I respect. Someone I care about. Nara's golden eyes widened. Daiho? I know this started as a deal, an alliance of necessity. But somewhere along the way it became something more. At least for me. He took a deep breath. When I saw you fighting in your dragon form, taking all that damage to protect my people, I realized something. I would have done the same for yours. Not because of our alliance, but because I care what happens to you. A single tear rolled down Nara's cheek. My people do not speak of such things. Emotions are considered weakness. Then your people are wrong, Deho said softly. Emotion is not weakness. It is what makes life worth living. It is what makes us fight harder, care deeper, and become better than we were. Nara reached up and touched his face gently. You have changed me, human. I used to think only of duty and honor, but you have shown me there is more. You have shown me that caring for others does not make me weak. It makes me stronger. They sat in silence for a while, just holding hands. Then Nara spoke again. The council meeting is in 2 days. If we are going to stop Jiwan, we need to act fast. Then let us make a plan, Deho said. Together. Over the next 2 days they worked. Deho called in the Veltheran warriors he had trained. He asked them to investigate quietly, find out who on the ship might be working with Jiwan. Meanwhile, Nara reached out to loyal officers and council members, building support. On the evening before the council meeting, one of Deho's warriors came to him with information. Commander, we found something. One of the communication officers has been receiving payments from an account traced to Prince Jiwan. The same officer was on duty when those encrypted messages were sent. Can you prove it? Deho asked. We have transaction records and testimony from others who saw suspicious behavior. Deho brought this information to Nara immediately. She looked at the evidence and smiled grimly. This is enough. We can bring this to the council. The next day, the Royal Council gathered. It was held in a massive chamber on the Veltharian Home Fleet flagship. Council members sat in a circle with Nara and Jiwan standing in the center. Deho was allowed to attend as Nara's betrothed. The head counselor, an ancient Veltharan named Elder Soman, spoke first. Princess Nara, you stand accused of risking our fleet for the sake of another species. You have formed an alliance with humans without full council approval. You have taken a human as your mate. Some say these actions show weakness. What do you say in your defense? Nara stood tall. I say I did what was necessary to save our people. The Veltharan face extinction. We need allies. We need new blood. The humans have proven themselves worthy. Commander Deho has trained our warriors and made them stronger. Together we rescued thousands from the Krovar and struck a blow against our enemies. You nearly lost half your fleet, another counselor said. Because we were betrayed, Nara replied. She gestured to Deho, who came forward with the evidence. Someone leaked our plans to the Krovar. That person was paid by someone on this council. Jiwan's face remained calm, but Deho saw his hands clench. These are serious accusations, cousin. Do you have proof? We do. Deho presented the evidence. Transaction records, testimony, communication logs that tied everything back to an account controlled by Jiwan. The council chamber erupted in noise. Councilors argued and demanded explanations. Jiwan tried to deny everything, but the evidence was clear. Prince Jiwan, Elder Soman said coldly, you have betrayed your own people. You endangered Veltharan lives for your own ambition. This is treason. I did it for our people, Jiwan shouted. Nara was making us weak. Allying with humans degrades our race. Deho had heard enough. He stepped forward past Nara until he was face to face with Jiwan. You call us weak? Deho said. His voice was not loud, but it carried through the entire chamber. I am one human, one, and I destroyed 3 of your best warships. I have trained your warriors and made them better fighters. I risked my life to save people I had never met. What have you done except hide and scheme? He turned to face the council. I know many of you do not trust humans. You see us as lesser beings, but I ask you to judge us by our actions, not your prejudice. Princess Nara saw that we could be allies. She put aside pride to ask for help. That does not make her weak. That makes her wise. The chamber was silent. Even Jiwan had no response. Elder Soman stood. The council has heard enough. Prince Jiwan will be stripped of his titles and exiled for his crimes. Princess Nara, you have shown both courage and wisdom. Your alliance with the humans is approved, and your union with Commander Deho will proceed with our blow. The union ceremony was unlike anything Deho had ever seen. It took place on the largest Veltharan ship in a chamber that opened to the stars. Thousands of Veltharan attended, along with the humans they had rescued. It was a joining of 2 species, 2 cultures, 2 worlds. Nara wore traditional Veltharan ceremonial armor, silver and gold that caught the light. Her scales shimmered. She looked like a warrior goddess. Deho wore a uniform that combined human military tradition with Veltharan design. It felt strange but right. Elder Saman performed the ceremony. She spoke in the Veltharan language, then translated for the humans present. Today we witness something that has never happened before, a union between Veltharan and human. Some said this day would never come. They said our species were too different. But Princess Nara and Commander Deho have proven that strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. Deho and Nara stood facing each other. The traditional Veltharan vows spoke of honor, duty, and strength. But when it was Deho's turn to speak, he added his own words. I vow to stand with you not just as an ally but as a partner. I vow to protect your people as I would my own. I vow to honor the trust you have placed in me. And I vow to show you every day that caring for each other does not make us weak. It makes us stronger than we ever could be alone. Nara's eyes glistened with tears that she did not hide. When she spoke, her voice was steady but filled with emotion. I vow to do the same. You have taught me that there is more to life than duty. You have shown me that opening my heart does not diminish my strength. You have given me hope when I thought all was lost. I am honored to call you my mate. They sealed the vows in both human and Veltharan tradition. A kiss for the humans, a touching of foreheads for the Veltharan. The crowd erupted in cheers from both species. The celebration afterward lasted for hours. Humans and Veltharan mingled, learning about each other. Children from both species played together. Food was shared. Stories were told. It was the beginning of something new, but Deho knew their work was far from over. That night after the celebration ended, he and Nara stood in their new shared quarters, looking at star maps. There are still millions of humans in Krovar slave markets, Deho said quietly. I know, Nara replied, and the Krovar grow bolder every day. But we have made a start, and now we have something new. Over the following months, their alliance grew stronger. Human survivors were given homes on Veltharan ships and planets. In return, humans taught the Veltharan about their technology, their tactics, and their ways. Slowly, both species began to change. The Veltharan warriors became more flexible in their fighting. They learned to think like humans, to adapt and overcome. The humans learned about Veltharan honor and strength. Together, they created something neither could have achieved alone. Then came the children. The first babies born from human and Veltharan unions. Deho held his own son for the first time 6 months after the ceremony. The baby had his eyes but Nara's golden shimmer to his skin. When he cried, his voice carried a power that made nearby objects vibrate slightly. He is strong, Nara said, looking at their son with wonder and love. He is ours, Deho replied, his heart full, but the child was more than just theirs. He represented the future. Scientists studied the hybrid children carefully. They discovered something amazing. These children could shift into dragon forms like the Veltharan, but they had human adaptability and creativity. They were stronger than either species alone. Word spread across the galaxy. Other species heard about the Veltharan human coalition. Some were curious. Others were threatened. The Krovar were especially angry. They had lost their largest slave market and many ships. They wanted revenge. 2 years after the Union ceremony, Deho stood in a command center, now as Admiral of the Combined Fleet. Nara stood beside him as Empress. The old Emperor had stepped down, naming Nara and Deho as joint rulers. It was unprecedented, but the people had accepted it. A Galactic Council delegation is requesting to meet with us, an officer reported. Deho looked at Nara. The Galactic Council represented hundreds of species. They were the closest thing to a government for this part of space. An invitation to join them was a huge honor. Accept their request, Nara ordered. Set up a meeting. 3 weeks later, they traveled to the Galactic Council station. It was a massive structure, bigger than any city. Representatives from countless species walked its halls. Many stared at Deho and Nara as they passed. A human and a Veltharan, walking side by side as equals. It was still strange to many. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of representatives sat in circles going up to the ceiling. At the center stood a platform where Deho and Nara were brought to speak. The council speaker, a being of pure energy contained in a force field, addressed them. Princess Nara, Commander Deho, you have done something remarkable. You have created an alliance between two species that were enemies. Your coalition has freed thousands from slavery. You have defeated the Krovar in multiple battles. The Galactic Council wishes to offer you membership. It should have been a moment of pure joy, but Deho noticed something. Many of the representatives looked at them with fear or anger. Not everyone was happy about their success. "We are honored," Nara said formally. "The Veltharan Human Coalition accepts. There is one condition," the speaker said. "You must agree to stop your attacks on Krovar territory. The Council has a peace treaty with the Krovar Dominion. Your actions threaten that peace." Deho felt anger rise in his chest. "Peace? They enslave entire species. They destroyed my homeworld, and you want us to stop fighting them?" "The treaty keeps a larger war from breaking out," a reptilian representative said. "Your personal grudge cannot endanger billions of lives." "It is not a grudge," Deho said, his voice hard. "It is justice. The Krovar need to answer for their crimes." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some representatives agreed with Deho. Others demanded he back down. The noise grew louder and louder. Nara raised her hand and somehow the chamber quieted. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of an empress. "The Council wants peace. We understand that. But peace without justice is just another word for surrender. The Krovar have committed atrocities. They continue to enslave and murder. If the Galactic Council will not stand against them, then the Coalition will stand alone." "You would reject our offer?" the speaker asked. "We would reject any offer that requires us to abandon those who need help," Deho said firmly. "Humanity has one rule. We do not leave our people behind. We do not forget those who suffer. We will continue to fight the Krovar until every slave is free or we are destroyed trying." Many representatives looked shocked, but Deho noticed some were nodding in agreement. Species that had also suffered under Krovar cruelty. The speaker was silent for a long moment. "Your courage is admirable, if foolish. The Council will not support your war, but we will not stand in your way either. You may join the Council while continuing your campaign, but know that you do so without our backing." It was not the answer Deho had hoped for, but it was something. "We accept those terms." As they left the chamber, several other species representatives approached them. A representative of the Krell, a species of insectoids, bowed to them. "Our people were enslaved by the Krovar long ago," she said. "We have not forgotten. If you need allies in your fight, call on the Krell." Others stepped forward with similar offers. Species that had been too afraid to stand up to the Krovar alone, but were willing to fight alongside the Coalition. By the time Deho and Nara returned to their fleet, they had gained 12 new allied species. Their coalition was growing. 5 years passed. The Veltharan Human Coalition became a major power in the galaxy. They liberated slave after slave market. They defeated Krovar fleets in battle after battle. Earth's survivors had grown from thousands to millions as more were freed, and the coalition itself changed. Veltharan and humans were now so mixed it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. Hybrid children were everywhere, representing the hope of both species. Deho stood on the rebuilt surface of Earth. They had taken it back from the Krovar 3 years ago. Now cities were rising again. Forests were being replanted. The sky was blue once more. His son, now 5 years old, ran through the grass laughing. He shifted between human and dragon form as easily as breathing. Other hybrid children played with him. Pure human and pure Veltharan children, too. All together. Nara came to stand beside Deho, her hand finding his. "This is what we fought for," she said softly. "Yes," Deho agreed. "A future where no one has to beg for help. Where different species stand together. Where being different makes us stronger, not weaker." Their story had spread across the galaxy. The desperate alien princess who begged a human warrior to wed her. The captive soldier who agreed to save both their peoples. It had become legend. Songs were sung about them. Stories were told to children. But to Deho and Nara, it was not a legend. It was their life. Their love. Their family. "Do you ever regret it?" Nara asked. "That day I came to your cell and asked you to marry me?" Deho thought back to that moment. When he had been chained and angry. When he had lost everything. When a dragon princess had knelt before him and begged. "No," he yes.